So far, Sparking Zero looks absolutely phenomenal, but I noticed that most of the discussion around the game has kind of just been about how good it looks, and the only controversy so far surrounding the game has mainly just been between its community and the creators. But I am not here to talk about that at all. I'm just here to shine some light on the community and their complaints. Now, I made sure to only pick problems that I've seen quite a few times and not just random things like people complaining that Chile isn't in the game. So let's get straight into it. Now, the first thing that I want to get into is the lack of certain stages. Now, I'm going to run down a list of the stages we have not seen yet throughout any gameplay. We haven't seen the Kame House, King Kai's Planet, Space, Kami's Lookout, Beerus' Planet, the Zeno Expo Arena, the Tournament of Destroyers Arena, the ice area from DBS Broly, we don't have Hell from the Janemba movie, and lastly the Destroyed City, I think from the future timeline. Now, I'll be honest, a lot of these on this list I think are going to come out with the full version of the game. I think the ones like the ice area and like Beerus' Planet might just get added later down the line, but I would be truly shocked if like Hell, Kami's Lookout, and Space weren't just in the game off launch. Like, I'm gonna keep it 100. I truly believe Bandai just didn't let them play those maps for their gameplays. Now, I don't know what the reasoning behind that would be, but I would be very surprised that these maps that we've had before were not just in this game, considering the massive scale of this game. Like, there's just no way we have Frieza Force Soldier 901 in the game, but we don't have Kami's Lookout as a stage. Like, that would not make sense. And you have to truly think about it too, because if we have the what if scenarios, there's so much that can be done with those that if you're lacking certain maps, especially important ones, it would low-key kill a lot of the potential that that feature has. Now, we're just gonna move on to the next thing because honestly, that stage problem, I feel like it's just gonna be irrelevant post-launch. Now, the next thing is a pretty popular topic of conversation at the moment, and that's gonna be the character select screen. Now, I'm just gonna keep it 100. A lot of people are really dogging on this UI right here. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I see why. I mean, it's kind of lackluster, and people actually thought this was a placeholder until they put the real one into the final builds of the game. But we found out months later that that is not true, and it really does look like this. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat it and act like I really do like this character select that much. The only reason people are really giving this any leeway is that there's just no loading screen between this character select and the start of your match. It's just really cool that once you pick your last character and lock in that you're ready to battle, you go immediately into the opening cutscene on the map. Now, I've been seeing this picture go around where they replaced the little UIs models with the renders that we were given on the Bandai website. And honestly, it does look quite a bit better. And I think the only other way they could really make it better is if, like, when you click a character, their forms pop up instead of them all being included like this. Now, honestly, I think they could have put way more effort into this character select UI, but considering the lack of loading screens, I'm really not too mad at this. I would actually like if you guys left a comment below because I'm kind of interested to see like what the common take on this is, like what they should have done differently. But I'm gonna move on to the next thing. The next thing I want to talk about is the camera. A lot of people have been saying that the camera moves too fast and it's very hard to keep up with. Now, I'm not gonna lie, in some gameplay I see how valid this point is. Like, it's not all the time, but there are a lot of different interactions and sometimes where you're just fighting and the camera is pretty sporadic. Now, I feel like the main reason that it's even like this is just due to the actual nature of Dragon Ball fights themselves. It's pretty obvious that's kind of what they were going for. They wanted the action-packed feel of the anime and translate that into the game. Whether that's a good idea or not seems kind of 50-50 right now. I've not seen too much hate for it, but the people that I have seen actually even talk about this have said the camera gives them motion sickness, that it's impossible to follow, it's just too much going on. And some people are saying it needs to actually be zoomed in, kind of like it was in Tenkaichi 3. The only other complaint I've seen about it is the rotating of the camera during beam struggles. To me, this isn't a huge problem because neither of you can actually move, you can just do one input. But considering how like iconic of a mechanic this is, I see why people would want it to look a certain way. Now, honestly, I think this is one problem that actually does need a bit of acknowledgement. I feel like a lot of the time it's actually not that bad, but there are some interactions where you literally cannot tell what happened. And I'm not talking about like vanishing or anything like that. I'm talking about when you charge at your opponent and your opponent will charge at you or do a different form of high-speed move. Sometimes the camera will do like this weird wraparound, and since there's like auras and other particle effects on the screen, sometimes it is nearly impossible to tell what your opponent is doing, where you're at, and what's even going on in the moment. So I'll conclude that by saying I think the camera could be touched up a bit overall. So I think if there is a problem after launch, the main thing that needs to be focused on are like high-speed interactions. Now, moving forward, I think the next thing I want to talk about is the weirdest complaint I've ever heard, and it's mainly coming from TikTok, but there are people on Twitter also talking about this, and that would be the balancing of the characters in the game. First of all, I feel like none of these kids have ever even heard or touched Tenkaichi before. And I feel like especially the kids on TikTok that I'm seeing are saying this, I feel like aren't even that big of fans of Dragon Ball if they are fans at all. And the reason I'm saying this is because in these comments, people are saying, there's going to be a huge meta of certain characters, and then people are going to use 20 out of the 200 characters. I'm like, that's nowhere close to true. And that point doesn't even stand in most fighting games in general. There's always going to be a low tier and a high tier character no matter what. And there's always people using the low tier characters just because they want. Simple as that. I was hoping a power and lore accurate game would come out just for any anime. I don't care if it was Naruto, Bleach, Jump Force 2, like it could have been anything, bro. But I'm glad it was Dragon Ball because I think it makes the most sense. But what I don't understand is that people are really hoping that there are banned characters for the ranked mode in this game. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this already doesn't matter, and I don't care because that's just how the game is meant to be. But on top of that, there's going to be Beerus players that are losing to like Yajirobe players. But on top of that, if this game is like Budokai Tenkaichi 3, then Bandai has literally already solved this problem by the point system that is going to probably be used in rank. The way this system works is that you get a certain amount of points you're allowed for your team. And to put it simply, the stronger characters will take up more points. So like a really strong character like Beerus or Whis, we're going to take up like 10 points, which is like half your team. And then you can put on like Chaozu or something that'll take up like 1 or 2 points. So if your opponent is running a very strong combo like Beerus, Whis, Goku or something, then odds are they only have 3 or 2 people on their team. So no one's really going to be at this massive advantage or disadvantage when it comes to these strong characters and balancing out teams. I don't think balancing is going to be that much of an issue unless there's an extremely broken character, so I'm going to move on to the next point. And I mean, it's that time. It's that time to talk about the split screen in this game. Now, usually I go straight into what the community is saying, but I'm going to tell you this first. Split screen originally was not going to exist, so you guys actually should be more thankful that it's even in the game. I remember it was months ago. It was like around the start of the year. It had to be like February or March. We were told that there was going to be no split screen mode due to complications with Microsoft and Sony. And this is very likely due to technical implications with split screen as a whole. Now, we've seen this before with a different game series. We've seen this before with Baldur's Gate 3, which got delayed. And then even when it had a split screen, it had tons of performance issues when it was out. Now, I believe the problem came from the Xbox Series S. I don't know what it is about that console, but there is something about it that makes it hard to implement split screen. Currently, the only problem of split screen that we know of is the fact that there is just only one map, being the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. Now, the Hyperbolic Time Chamber is practically empty, and it's the most simple map ever, besides space, probably. Meaning that I'm going to assume the reason that there's not other maps is due to performance issues and technical problems that come with having split screen and a bunch of like destruction and effects. Now, honestly, I doubt this is something that is going to be changed, and if it is changed, that would just be a shock to me personally, because having to fix that and having it to work on every single console is going to be difficult. Moving on, the last and probably least important thing I have to talk about today is going to be the fact that there are some models that look like they're in Shintani style and some that look straight out of DBZ. Honestly, I don't really think this is something that's that important. I've only seen a few people really talk about it, but I also feel like a lot of people haven't really noticed, so I'm going to bring it up anyway. Some models and even certain forms of the same character are in completely different styles. Honestly, I feel like this is like a day one complaint. This is the type of thing I feel like most people won't care about, and even the people that do care are probably not going to even care that much in the long term. Like, I don't see this complaint coming up after like the first couple weeks of this game being out, I'm gonna be honest. But I will agree that visually it is kind of weird. And I think it's going to be the worst for like thumbnails, honestly. I think that'll be my biggest complaint for this section. Honestly, I don't have too much to say about it personally. If you guys feel different, you just leave that in the comments, let me know. I'm going to finally wrap this video up. Honestly, I wanted this video to be way shorter, but if you made it to the end, like, comment, let me know. Provide constructive feedback about this video too. I take all constructive criticism into account. Disclaimer though, if you're going to sub up, I'll just be honest, I don't only post Dragon Ball. I'm going to be posting other things. So yeah, just quick reminder. But I mean, that's pretty much everything. Peace.